Now, most of you already know that institutions, both locally and internationally, are seeing South Africa not growing by much this year, and that is when we look to the, of course, GDP, which measures the economic activities throughout the year. I mean, you will know that a company like IMF sees, of course, 0.1% in growth, of course, coming from South Africa, which is not good because it is almost 0%. And ladies and gents, we are seeing also even the institutions locally in South Africa sort of like agreeing with most of the international institutions that believe or that sees South Africa only growing by around 0% or not growing at all this year, which is something that is not good. I mean, yesterday I read an article which, of course, has made an institution to obviously revise their guidance on the 2023 outlook in terms of the economy in South Africa, and of course cut their guidance or cut, of course, their forecast based on what they've seen year to date. Now, this, of course, it is not good because, ladies and gents, it means that even the companies that we invest in the stock market or in the JSE, it then means that they are not expected to grow by much. This is something that is not good. This is something that, of course, it's just said. I mean, in my previous video where I was talking about the SA economy, you'll know that I highlighted three things which obviously are the ones that are mainly having a huge impact into SA economy, which is, of course, high inflation, interest rate hikes, and load shedding. These are the main three things that are, of course, having a huge impact into the SA economy. And those things, especially with high inflation, we will know that at least inflation is cooling off, which is a good sign, which obviously when it cools down, it means that, of course, we are going to see, of course, the central bank or the SA's Reserve Bank, of course, starting to probably cut down interest rates, which will, of course, stimulate, of course, the economy in South Africa. So before going deep into this video, you already know that this video is just an entertainment video and not a professional financial advice video. And I really appreciate if you can just hit that like button if you are to enjoy the content that I will be giving you about an institution that came out with a GDP forecast for South Africa. In fact, they came out and cut their GDP forecast in South Africa, which is not good at all, because then it means that obviously our economy is not expected to do that well. Without wasting any more of your time, the institutions which came, of course, just yesterday and, of course, cut their GDP forecast in South Africa was Nedbank. You will know that Nedbank, beginning of June, they came and said that they see a GDP growth of around 0.2% in South Africa, which, of course, it was bad. I mean, like I said, 0.2% is as good as 0%. They are not expecting to see growth in SA's economy this year, which obviously getting to see that them coming out and cut that 0.2 again, it just has to show you that things are bad, because as in the screen you notice that they came out yesterday and said, of course, they are seeing a 0.1% increase of GDP growth, which means that our economy, they're just expecting it to grow by 0.1%, which is not good at all, because then it means that there's no growth. They don't see any growth from, of course, SA economy, which, of course, no growth means that even the companies that we invest in South Africa, there won't be any growth which of GDP or of the kind of revenues they generate, which is something that obviously it is not good at all. And I think I can agree with them, because so many of the companies we are seeing them, or so many of the SA or local companies, we see them coming out and not producing the kind of revenues they were producing a year or two, which is, of course, a red flag or a bad signal that shows or that clearly indicates the kind of harm our economy is getting from, of course, things like high inflation, interest rate hikes, and load shedding, which obviously, although other companies are coming with mitigation measures, it looks like this year the damage is already done. We are not to expect much from the companies who invest in the stock market or in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, because, ladies and gentlemen, not much growth is expected from most of the companies locally. So this is not good news, or this, of course, it is something that is a bit worrisome. But in the long term, of course, the share drops, or as this company report poor earnings or poor financial results, the share price drops, and that, of course, offers opportunities for most of the investors or retail investors who are in it for the long term. So another thing which Nedbank also highlighted, ladies and gents, it is of course that they still see an interest rate hike coming very soon. And this, of course, they said it in the very same article where we saw, of course, their GDP growth, which as seen on the screen, notice that they are saying they see a 25 basis point or 0.25% again, which obviously will bring more hurt not only to the economy but to also the consumers. So they see, of course, the prime lending rate getting to obviously 12%, as most of you know by now that it's currently sitting at 11.75%. So the 25 basis point or 0.25%, which of course Nedbank says will take the lending rate to, of course, 12%, which obviously, like I said, it is not going to hurt, of course, the consumers. But personally, I don't think I would really like to see, of course, the SA Reserve Bank doing that, because as I've said in the previous video, as we saw last week during the inflation report, inflation in South Africa is cooling off. We are almost at the target, of course, bracket which was targeted by the South African Reserve Bank of an inflation of between 3 and 6%. I mean, last week we saw SA reporting an inflation of around 6.3%, which was better than the inflation that so many analysts expected, which was a good thing, right? I mean, to get to see inflation heading closer to the upper limit or upper guidance from the SA Reserve Bank, it is something that I think it was good news to investors. So this very same Nedbank, they further said that they believe that this year SA will have an average CPI or cost of living sitting at 5.9%. So they have sort of like or the good thing from that article which I take or which I read about is that the average 6% which they had previously projected, they sort of like updated it or gave an update on it to say that we might see an average of 5.9% inflation in South Africa this year, which is a good thing, because then it will mean that on average our inflation probably will be within, or it will end the year within the bracket or the target, of course, inflation bracket by the SA Reserve Bank of between 3 and 6%. So I'm very excited at least about that. And of course, one of the things that I would not really like is, of course, seeing another interest rate hike, because it will bring in more weight into the SA economy, which will really hurt it so much. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I just thought I'd just give you this quick update. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me. And before you buy any stock from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, please do your own due diligence so that at least you can be comfortable when you are investing into the stock market. Otherwise, that's all from me. And I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey. And God bless you all.